So back again with another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. So let's get started. This time, it's my Nectar Ahsha budget deck profile. So this deck, you may have seen this. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes somewhere before. Where for that short time that I was on Simply Board's channel, someone asked for an Ahsha deck profile for budget. I made them one, but that was only with cards that we were available with at the time. Now, cards have obviously gotten cheaper, cards have gotten better, so I chose to buy those cards, make my own budget deck, and this is the deck that you will see today. So I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and Patreon, so let's get started. For the starter, fuck, I forgot to change that. I was doing all the setup for this for the last 10 minutes to make sure everything was perfect, and I forgot to change it from the Japanese art. Okay, well, it's fine. I'll deal with it. So the starter is Spring Heralding Maiden Ozu. You cannot read it unless you read Japanese, but the effect is over here on the side, where auto, when wrote upon, draw a card, then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 1 or greater, put a quick shield ticket into your hand. So, you know, it's a standard draw a card, then get a quick shield, and you know that quick shield is mainly going to be used for discard fodder, but at the same time, it's a 5k shield. There is one card, if I remember correctly, in this deck that discard, so it's only going to get that one card, but still really useful, and it's the starter because it represents with Ahsha the most, or at least to me it does. So on to triggers. We've got 4 copies of the regular Neighborly Knight Boris. Draw trigger. It's not going to be the draw PG. If you've watched the Chrono Jet video, you know what my statement's going to be about this. If you haven't watched the Chrono Jet video, I suggest you do that because I'm not willing to re-say it, because I will only say it once and I'm never saying it again, because it's something that I feel that mostly about. Something I feel that strongly about. So anyways, this is the draw trigger. I like them. This is not a Musketeer deck. I like Musketeers. I wish I had a Musketeer deck right now because I prefer Musketeers over Ahshas any day. But, you know, draw trigger's still nice, and it's not technically a Musketeer. Anyways, 4 copies. 4 copies of an actual Musketeer, Night Queen Musketeer Daniel, who, you know, it's a critical trigger, looks fancy, looks like he's part of an army of some crap, or it looks like he's a very fancy fencer. 4 copies of Flower Garden Maidens Mylis, and it forgot to save the crit sentinel part. Okay, whatever. So pretty much it's just the crit sentinel, 30k shield. It's not the PG because it can possibly make you waste less than 1 card on guarding, which is really helpful because, you know, that 30k shield is it's going to stop a lot of things. Like, stuff that has sentinel restrict, it's not going to matter whether you ran the regular PG or this because it's going to stop it anyways. But, like, big attacks are like 42,000 and you're at a 13k base, you can just throw down this instead of throwing down a PG, so then you only waste 1 card instead of 2. So really good, and this is Sentinel, so you can only have 4 in the deck. But it's still good because it's a critical trigger and you can just spam crits all day long. So 4 copies. And then 4 copies of Fairy Light Dragon. Standard heal trigger, to a technical default, this heal trigger doesn't define with Ahsha the most because it's not a maiden, but in my defense, it's a card that Tokuha used in the anime, so shut the fuck up. So, anime wins. Okay, anyways, onto normal units. Grade 1s. So, first grade 1 copy of Momosmo Peach. So, 8k base, auto rearguard circle when it boosts if you have 5 more units, Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets plus 10k power till end of turn. So, this deck does Soul Blast a decent amount, I think. I forgot what was the reason that I had this in for. But anyways, it's mainly here for an 18k booster and nothing else. It is not that useful. Granted, you will get 5 units out really easily. But if you're playing against something like Blade Master or Vanquisher, you won't. It will be harder to get out 5 units because you have to constantly commit more to hand. And yes, you can just proc off of plant tokens, but it kind of harms you when you're supposed to be bringing out Ahsha flower tokens. So if you're playing against decks like those, this isn't going to be the card. It is mainly here for like that final turn, 18k booster, push your opponent with the Vanguard, and then swing with 2 flower tokens for game. And the Soul Blast is kind of the reason why it's on 1 copy. So, 1 copy of this thing for final turn uses, of course. 2 copies of Maiden of Blue Lace, the more important card, but I only have 2 copies of it, so that's what we're going with. 8k base, act rearguard circle once per turn, Soul Blast 1, call up to 1 plant token to rearguard, and this unit gets plus 5k till end of turn. And the plant token is a 5k unit with 1 critical and it has boost. So that's really good. It's a 13k booster or attacker, so it can hit numbers. It can be used for rushing if you want to, like, say, ride Momosmo Peach, call this, skill, Soul Blast, get a plant token to another column, this unit gets +5, call anything to behind that plant token, and then you rush your opponent for the power of God's sake until they die. And to a technical default, you can spam out 5 rear cards while you're at grade 1 with this deck. If you see very certain cards, it will be a very aggressive grade 1 turn for you, and your opponent is going to have a very fun time trying to stop it. But either way, good card, and it's mainly the reason why Momosmo Peach is at 1 copy. So 2 copies of Maiden of Blue Lace. 3 copies of Devoted Maiden Tanja, and it's getting really dark over here. Feels like it's gonna rain. Anyways, besides that sidetrack note, 8k base, continues rearguard circle. During your turn, if you have a unit on your rearguard with the same name as your vanguard gets +5. So that's a really good ability, because originally I thought this unit gets +5, and then I started questioning why did I buy it, and did I just waste like 10 cents a copy on this thing, which really isn't that bad because it's a 30-cent card, but in total. But when I actually read the ability, I realized that it actually gave it to the Vanguard, and that makes it better, because Ahsha Flower Fairies need to become the same power as the Vanguard, so having that extra 5k is really important. So this card's actually helpful, well, more helpful than I thought it was. So 3 copies, really good. Technically a 13k booster, but it's still amazing, so 3. 4 copies of the Budding Maiden Diane, 8k base, auto Vanguard or Rearguard. When placed, discard a card from your hand, draw a card, and one of your grade 3 Vanguards gets +5 till end of turn. So, you know, it's mainly here for grade 1 rushing, possibly, where you would just discard the quick shield and straight up draw. Or if you want to, like, wait for, like, that final turn, call out Diane, use its skill, boost your Vanguard up by 5, call out Tanja, boost the Vanguard up by 5, and then call out a Lace, and then use Lace to boost the Vanguard for big numbers. Then you could do that, but Diane's like more or less an early game card, but you know, you can stockpile everything, wait for that last turn, and then just go all out, and unless your opponent has 3 PGs, they're not surviving this turn. So, really useful card, 4 copies. 4 copies of Blowball Squire, 6k base, 10k shield, auto rearguard circle. When placed, if you have no plant tokens, call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard, and there are grade 0 5ks with crits and have boost. So that's really good. This is the card I was talking about, where if you see this and Blue Lace in your opening hand, and you see literally any other grade 1 with them, then I would suggest keeping them. Go for that grade 1 rush, because you could go ride one of the grade 1s that isn't Blue Lace or this thing, so ride the extra one, draw a card, call this, skill, get 2 plant tokens, call Lace, skill of Lace, Soul Blast, get another plant token, gets +5, just like that. You only throw down 2 hand cards, you got a full field. And then you can rush your opponent down for like one of the columns in 18k, the other column's in 11k, and then the middle column is presumably at 13k. So that's really good. You got magic numbers on each side. So either way, really good card, and it can be used for rushing, because for Ahsha to go off, you need 3 rear guards. This fulfills the cost on its own just by being placed. So amazing card, 4 copies. And then on to grade 2s. 3 copies of Maiden of Bot-Fist. 10k base, 5k shield, auto rearguard circle. When it attacks, if you have 5 more units, this unit gets +10k to end of battle. So, you know, it's a 20k hitter. It is mainly here for those big push numbers. If you can't get any of your other grade 2s, at least you got something that's going to be guaranteedly useful because of that 5 rearguard thing, and it's going to be hitting for at least a 15k, no, normally 10k, but if you boost, it's going to be a 15k guard, depending on what it's boosted with. So, really useful card, 3 copies. And then 4 copies of Genuine Maiden Feryne. I swear on my life, this thing saved me. I will never, ever, ever not use this. It saved my life in area. I top decked into it, and it saved me. I will explain that story when I'm done explaining its skill. So 10k base, auto rearguard circle when placed. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, call up to 1 plant token of rearguard, and one of your Vanguards gets +5 till end of turn. Okay, anyways, time to continue with the story. So pretty much what happened was, I was playing Ahsha's, obviously, and this was like my first time playing Ahsha's. I've said this story a bit of times on the channel, where I did not see a single Ahsha during the whole entire game. I had to use 2 searchers at the beginning, and I still didn't see an Ahsha. So, obviously my hopes of drawing it were low. I drew it to 1 during my second to last turn, and I thought I was going to die. Thankfully, my opponent didn't pull a crit, and I miracle healed out of it, so I survived during that turn, and then all I needed was some amount of 5k to push. I didn't know it at the time, but I needed some amount of 5k. I top decked into this thing, and I said, oh, it's gonna work. Ride into Ahsha, get a Force Gift, spam out tokens, call this thing, get another token, power to Vanguard, call an Ahsha Flower Fairy. I attack, and then afterwards, I have my opponent reveal their hand, and they said that if I didn't get an extra 5k off it, I would have died. They would have survived perfectly fine. Turns out this card was a top deck and a blessing in disguise, so I will never, ever, ever doubt this card in my life. So 4 copies, beautiful card, saved my ass. Also, it has dual pistols, and if you know me personally, I love dual pistols, so... Anyways, on to the next grade 2. 4 copies of Blossoming Maiden Cela. So, continuous rearguard circle, 10k base by the way. If you have a unit with the same card name as your Vanguard and rearguard, this unit cannot be retired by effects, and it gets plus 5k power. So, your opponent cannot Blade Master to death. They can bind it, because that's not retiring, but they can't... but they basically can't burn it with Kagero, or, I guess, olden-style Narukami, which was retire. And it gets plus 5k during both players' turns. So that's a permanent 15k right there. So that's really nice. And then act Vanguard Rearguard Circle once per turn. I mean, not once per turn. Counterblast 1 and call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard. So that's really good. You know, just get out 2 plant tokens. Like I said, for Ahsha to go off, you need 3 rearguards. This automatically makes it 3 as well. This is the one that you don't want to sack. Blowball, I can see you sacking because it's an on place and that's it. This is not an on place, it is not once per turn, and it can be a 15k. So obviously you don't want to sack this unless you have to. So 4 copies, really nice grade 2. On to grade 3s. 4 copies of Cornflower Maiden Inez. So 13k base, auto Vanguard or rearguard, when placed, counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, look at top 5, call a card from under the rearguard and shuffle your deck, and if you have another unit of the same card name as the unit called, draw a card. So if you if you have to call a trigger and you for some reason have a trigger on field, draw a card. Either way, it's really helpful. And since it says on place, doesn't say where, you could effectively just spam out a bunch of Enuses from this and then all of them can plus off each other if you get that lucky. But 1, that would be a waste of counterblast, 2, a waste of soul blast, and 3, you would only do it for the sake of drawing and you might end up hurting yourself more. But then again, it would be a field spam, so it really just comes down to logic and luck. And then the second skill, which is the reason why you might consider it, auto Vanguard or rearguard. When your other rearguard is placed by your card's ability, this unit gets plus 5k till end of turn. So that can be stacked. So like I said, if you got lucky enough and you really wanted to power stack your way to victory, you go ride Inez, get a force, skill, look at top 5, call an Inez, this unit gets plus 5, you draw, skill of the Inez that you just called, call another Inez, the Vanguard one gets plus 5, the one that used the ability to call gets plus 5, you draw a card, then use the other Inez skill, counterblast 1, search for your deck, search the top 5 for another Inez, all the 3 from a roll gets plus 5, you draw a card again, and then you do the same thing again, and everything else gets plus 5, and that's how you just spam out your units. That's pretty much how this deck works. And if you somehow got lucky enough and you wanted to pay all your counterblast and soul blast for it, so be it, but that would be a very fun turn just to rush your opponent down to death with. So very good backup card. 4 copies, possibly no TK. And finally, the Ace Grade 3, Ranunculus Fire Maiden Ahsha. So 13k base, auto Vanguard or rearguard circle, when placed, counterblast 1, call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard, and this unit gets plus 10 to end of turn. So automatically on place a 23k base and you get 2 tokens. And then act Vanguard Circle, the main ability, once per turn, retire 3 rearguards, call an Ahsha Flower Fairy to rearguard. So an Ahsha Flower Fairy, I'll get to in a second, but that's pretty good. It's just a free, you already have 2 rearguards, all you need is 1 more card and then you can do the ability. So that's really amazing, and it's a 23k base right out the gate. So, and that's actually helpful with Ahsha Flower Fairy. So, really good card, 4 copies, time for the Ahsha Flower Fairy. Whoops, wrong card. There we go. Yep. So now we're on to the extra deck, more or less. Wait, I just want to check something. Okay, no, I was just... Because it's... Apparently it skipped with the Ahsha Flower Fairy, and I was trying to see if I accidentally skipped a grade 1. So anyways, Ahsha Flower Fairy. You'd only need 2 copies of this. 13k base. This card represents an Ahsha Flower Fairy token and cannot be put into the main deck. Continuous Rearguard Circle. This unit has the same card name as your Vanguard with Ahsha in its card name. Hint, hint, Cela will plus off of this, and so will something else. Is it only Cela? Okay, I guess Kayla's the only... Nope, not only Cela, Tanja. So Cela and Tanja will plus off of this. And then auto rearguard circle. When it attacks, choose one of your vanguards with Ahsha in its card name and increase or decrease this unit's power and critical to the match that unit until the end of the battle. So this unit does not get boost. If you were to boost it, the boost would just go away, so there's no point in boosting it. So call your rearguards to other columns that can boost instead of this thing, which actually helps because if you have 2 on the field, then you can conserve hand cards. But that's really nice. You can manipulate your vanguard's power. So on place, it's already at 23. Combine with Tanja, it's at 28. Call out stuff, and then just call the grade 2 that saved my life, Jerno, and then the Vanguard's another +5, so now it's at 20, so now it's at 33. You boost it, and even though the boost doesn't stay, that Ahsha token's already a 33k attacker. And stack triggers on the Vanguard too, so that this thing gains effects. If you like see 2 crits, you put them all on the Vanguard, even if it's PG, so it basically becomes a triple critical. So really nice. So 2 copies. And 5 copies of regular plant tokens. You only need 5, because all of them will just go back to the extra deck when they're retired, and you do not need more than 5 unless like you're playing against Vanquisher, but even then I'm pretty sure it doesn't get bound, it just gets put back to the extra deck. So either way, 5 copies. Then 1 quick shield, the thing that you get when you ride from the starter. When one of your units is attacked, it gets +5k power to end of battle, so it's a 5k shield basically, which is helpful, but it's mainly here for discard fodder, and that's it. And now onto the gifts. We got, most likely you're only going to ride 5 times. Like I said, that Inez play, and you want to ride Ahsha as much as physically possible. So we got Force 1, where if it's on the Vanguard or Rearguard, it gets +10 during your turn, and it can stack. Also, always stack this on the Vanguard. No matter what, stack it on the Vanguard. Because I promise you, that Ahsha Flower Fairy, right then and there, if you do the play I discussed earlier, +1 Force 1, that's already a 43k base right there without triggers. So that's amazing. 2 43k attacks, you see 2 crits, oh that's 63k with 3 crits, that's a one-shot kill right there. So amazing. 5 Force 1s, because I suggest that. And then 3 Force 2s. You're not going to use Force 2 that often unless you're doing the Inez combo, but even then you're only going to ride once. Well then again, if you're planning on doing the Inez combo, you gotta stockpile 1 in your hand, and then make sure the rest stay in your deck, because if you see 1, the whole play gets ruined. Or I guess as long as 2 are left in your deck, you're fine. So then you currently ride up into Ahsha, then you let your opponent kill your Flower Fairies, you go into the Inez on the 3rd turn, and then as long as you have 2 left in deck, the play will work. So, really good card. It could be beneficial to Inez spamming, but otherwise you go with Force 1 for Ahsha's sake. Well, that was the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguard.